By the way, are you going to sue Justin Bell, or are you going to sue Blake Lively too?
Into oblivion, Megan. Wait till you see this lawsuit.
Oh boy. Well, for what?
I'm just going to tell you, you're going to have to wait and see. It's coming up soon.
You'll be getting a subpoena soon. I have these excellent new attorneys, and they found possible evidence tampering in my case. Hello, Darren. My fiance's private plane.
Oh, and if you don't come, I'm gonna have to sue you into oblivion for using my name and likeness without my express written consent.
It was a busy weekend since another Simple Favor film had been released. Blake Lively trolled in her latest film, and it seems she inserted the line, "Sue you into oblivion," in post-production. "Sue you into oblivion" was indeed spoken by Mr. Brian Reynolds during interviews in December and early January. Another Simple Favor post-production was completed in late January, so she had an opportunity to lay down voiceover audio that would be edited into the film. If her mouth wasn't visible, they would be able to cut to it and add her voice, having it appear to be added at the time of filming. It seems that was done twice. Once when it was regarding a subpoena for witness tampering or evidence tampering, and a second for "sue you into oblivion." If you're wondering if this is really her trolling, I think so. In her amended complaint, she brought up oblivion twice. It bothered her that much. In her suit, her amended complaint states, "On information and belief, all defendants actively engaged in this heightened retaliation campaign. Defendants' counsel threatened multiple lawsuits to sue Miss Lively and others into oblivion, and went on to file 4 suits in 3 jurisdictions with outlandish damages of hundreds of millions of dollars each." The second reference is in paragraph 304, where it states, "Defendants have continued their public game through frivolous lawsuits intended to generate press coverage, chill others from stepping forward, and pressure Miss Lively to abandon her claims. Defendants' counsel threatened to bring multiple lawsuits to sue Miss Lively and others into oblivion, with intent and effect to intimidate others with knowledge of Wayfair from speaking out." So, you'd expect that if the line, "suing you into oblivion," was some kind of menacing threat to stifle people, you wouldn't include that in your new film. But that's what Blake Lively did. It will be quite difficult for her to justify that, because we know that post-production was done after lawsuits were filed, so they had ample time to include that voiceover. Blake is once more demonstrating to the world that she doesn't have the situation in earnest and is playing it down. Even though she's been trolling Mr. Baldoni in the new film, by the way, the film is being given awful reviews, with pretty terrible scores on Rotten Tomatoes, Metacritic, and Letterboxd, and a bunch of people commenting that it's the worst film they've ever seen. Blake has nothing acting-wise booked. As reported by The Independent, which wrote an article today, Blake has absolutely no acting work booked at all. She's not signed up for anything, there are no film deals, no signings, and she's not working. This might well be her last film in a long time, and The Independent, based in the UK, believes that might be best for her. They're saying she should just vanish for a bit. Blake Lively's best friend, Taylor Swift, is being subpoenaed, and it seems like other individuals are going to be subpoenaed as well. That could be why Travis Kelce unfollowed Ryan Reynolds last week, the Daily Mail, who talks to pretty much anyone in this lawsuit, and you have to take what they can exclusively report with a grain of salt that now being subpoenaed, and apparently other people are going to get subpoenaed, and it might explain why TA Travis Kelce unfollowed Ryan Reynolds last week. So according to the Daily Mail, who apparently speaks to basically everyone in this lawsuit, and you have to take with a grain of salt, they can exclusively reveal that Taylor Swift, almost certainly the most powerful woman in show business, has been dropped center stage into the whole undilutatory mess and served with a subpoena by Baldwin's lawyers. My goodness, the subpoena has been issued compelling her to submit to an interview with Baldwin Street Fighter lawyer Brian Reynolds under oath. Never a pleasant experience for anyone. He is one of the most powerful and feared litigators in the entertainment industry. You know, I feel like if you found yourself on the wrong end of a lawsuit, where you are the smaller party and you are up against a giant, you would be well represented by Brian Reynolds. He is definitely not for everyone, but he seems to find his skill in helping those that are being wronged by big corporations or someone. If you found yourself on the receiving end of a lawsuit, where you're the underdog against a Goliath, you'd want to be represented by Brian Friedman. He is not for everyone, but he appears to be very good at assisting those being wronged by large corporations or finding themselves in a David and Goliath type struggle. His area of specialization in litigation is crisis litigation, especially where celebrities are involved in scandals. What distinctly separates him in crisis litigation is his ability with public relations. He speaks with his mouth in interviews and battles in the public domain a great deal of the time. When you consider him as a lawyer, yes, he is one of the minds behind all the litigation, but he is also the face of the litigation team in public. His staff, including Baldoni and Wayfair's staff, is enormous. He has a firm in California and a second team of litigators in New York. If you employ a lawyer who has not passed the bar in a given state but can practice in federal court, they are able to petition in another state as long as it is federal court. For that matter, however, they must get a local attorney for litigation, filing documents, and drafting filings. For this case, they hired attorneys from the New York-based firm Mester Sealing & Fain, PLLC. If you're familiar with the filings, a lot of them are written by either Mitchell Schuster or Kevin Fritz. They also brought on an entertainment lawyer from California, Metitra, who is appearing as an out-of-state attorney. She was even present at the premiere, where she was in the basement with Wayfair. The attorneys in this case have done a phenomenal job, but they're not inexpensive either. These attorneys bill way over $1,000 an hour, easily. On Blake's end, it's the same thing. There's been a lot of inquiry about how much they're paying and how much they're spending every month. Considering the level of discovery here, the number of witnesses and depositions, the number of filings and defendants, I'd bet they're going to spend millions of dollars. I don't know what they're paying every month, but by the time this is finished, the lawyer fees alone are going to cost tens of millions of dollars easily. So this is what happened. Apparently, Miss Swift, who has been trying to wriggle out of it, was served with a subpoena last week. A source informed the Daily Mail, Taylor Swift has now been subpoenaed. No. We don't know who's getting subpoenas. We know if someone files, like Marvel has filed, one of Blake's companies filed, so we know that there are people who have been subpoenaed, who have received interrogatories or requests for production, but we don't know who else. Leslie Sloan told the court last week that, in her initial disclosures, she received from Wayfair a list of 150 possible witnesses. That's a lot. Now, it's not going to be that many, but it's a lot of people, and they're going to have to drill that down, because that would be a ton of depositions. So if Taylor has to sit for a deposition, and if Travis has to sit for a deposition, that might be telling. I don't know. What did Travis know in this, other than that he became her boyfriend during the filming period? You receive a request, and it gets granted through the judge, but it's not part of the public record unless it's attached to a filing as an exhibit. So, unless it's attached to a filing, we don't know who's receiving subpoenas. We do know Marvel has filed one, and one of Blake's businesses has filed one as well. This implies that there are individuals who have been subpoenaed and who have also been given interrogatories or product requests. We don't know who else. Leslie Solon informed the court last week. By now, we all know Taylor Swift was at the Penthouse prior to when the film began filming, in pre-production. Blake Lively had invited her over to talk about the script and wanted to review a pass she had done on the rooftop scene, which she later told someone on the red carpet was written by her husband, Ryan Reynolds. At this meeting, Ryan Reynolds and Taylor Swift were enthusiastically explaining to him how good the script was, flattering the rewrite, and urging him to take it on for his film. It's a little odd, isn't it? Now, in public, Taylor has refuted this, stating that she was invited and felt she was being tricked into attending. She states she only greeted him with a hi because he was the boss. This is a very different story than the one presented by Mr. Baldoni's attorneys, who state that she was very excited and urged him to think about the rewrites in the script. So what they're going to be doing, apparently, is he's going to want to quiz her about her relationship with Lively and just what she was doing at the Penthouse that night when he summoned her to discuss the rewrites of the script. She will be compelled to turn over any emails, texts, or other communication she's had with Lively about Balan. She will be asked to give her own account of that meeting, which Baldoni has complained amounted to the start of a series of acts that strong-armed him out of the movie, which he had co-written, was directing, and acting in. He actually isn't the co-writer, so that part isn't true, Daily Mail. They also claimed that he will ask, did Lively allege that Belden had sexually harassed her? And what exactly did she say had been done, if anything? The source also told the Mail that the case is now progressing through subpoenas and depositions that will carry on over the summer. They say nobody is talking about settling from Blake's side, even though pretty much everyone you talk to says it's obvious that it would be in their interest to settle this damaging fight as quickly as possible. Apparently, Hugh Jackman is also going to be drawn into the fray over the character Nice Pool, and that has to do with the man bun and all of the stuff they did in that. And Marvel is still trying to get out of that, by the way. Now, it's interesting because the Daily Mail is starting to connect some dots here, too. They think it's weird that Miss Swift has been pretty silent about what's gone down. Because when Kesha sued and accused Dr. Luke of sexually assaulting her, Swift donated $250,000 to Kesha and authorized her spokesperson to make a statement in support of her. The music producer denied the accusations, and the case was settled out of court in 2023. But in this situation, Taylor has never said a word to come to her friend's defense. She's given no public endorsement, and none of her PR has reported that she condones the situation at all. And initially, pro-Lively sources were trying to say that their relationship was on the mend. Sources connected to Lively issued statements to Us Weekly and People, saying that Blake knew she and Taylor would come back from this at some point, and that their friendship wasn't done for good. Taylor was really hurt by the situation, so she's relieved they were able to recover from it and put it all behind them, because it wasn't something she took lightly. But only a couple of days after Lively tried to spin the narrative that she and Taylor were back to being besties again, suddenly Travis Kelce unfollowed, and it looked really bad for them. He unfollowed Reynolds, he unfollowed Blake. Blake unfollowed him. Reynolds still follows Kelce as of the last time I checked, but I don't know. It felt like there could be some tension here. Others believe that all this is a PR gimmick to give the impression that they're not friends, but as it appears, Taylor doesn't want to have anything to do with it, at least based on reports talking to the Daily Mail. When Taylor's rep learned of the subpoena, they issued a statement that she didn't want to be included in the drama. And it's not only Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift distancing themselves, Gigi Hadid is distancing herself too. She celebrated her 30th birthday, and although Swift was there, Blake Lively wasn't. Blake was said to have been in the UK, but it seems she's now being ostracized by Taylor and her friend's circle. Gossip writer Rob Shooter said that Gigi had to make a choice between Taylor and Blake, and she chose Taylor. Not that it's a surprise, considering Gigi and Taylor have known each other a lot longer than Blake and Taylor have. I also received some information over the weekend from a photographer I interviewed, Richard, who was the paparazzi they attempted to have arrested. He told me that a couple of years ago, Blake and Selena Gomez fell out after Blake made a snide comment to Selena. Selena then cautioned Taylor against Blake, indicating that she didn't believe Blake was there for the right reasons, and that Blake was opportunistic in saying that her daughters were all her godchildren. If Selena Gomez is a part of this, then she wouldn't mind if Taylor also breaks up with Blake. Selena and Taylor have been friends much longer than Blake and Taylor ever were. Now, I have to go back and cover one of the stories I did last week on Blake's PR failures, because there was another one on Seth Meyers. Blake told a tale about her daughter, that her daughter has a birthday in common with Napoleon Bonaparte and Jennifer Lawrence. She attempted to relate it to sun signs, insisting that her daughter was an authoritarian leader, a tyrant. But here's the thing, none of their children were born in August when Napoleon was born. Blake and Ryan have kids born in December, February, and October. It just kind of seems like a strange thing to say when it's something easy to check out and makes her seem unreliable. Interestingly, Blake herself confessed in a 2017 Glamour interview that she and Ryan fib all the time to the media. She was questioned about a tweet Ryan posted, and Blake laughed, stating he fabricated stories about their daughter to make her laugh. She even joked that he might as well be employed by the National Enquirer. It's somewhat strange to joke about inventing stories, particularly when it concerns their children. So, with a made-up story about her daughter being a tyrant, perhaps that isn't the wisest thing to do when you're under intense public scrutiny. It's just another instance of how her credibility is in doubt. and it could be used to discredit her in the current case. If they'll lie openly to maintain their stories, what's to prevent them from lying now? They appear to have a pattern of playing these things down as jokes, be it about Baldoni or joking about serious allegations such as sexual harassment. It's all a part of the story they're attempting to create, and they believe it's all a joke. For myself, I find Ryan to be possibly a bit of a sociopath. He appears to like lying and deceiving others, and I sense that he and Blake lie to cover up their egos. Narcissists like them don't accept responsibility. They create these outlandish lies to keep up their image. I've experienced firsthand how damaging narcissism can be, having had a lawsuit brought against me by one, and it's a terrible thing. The worst is the world believing their lies, which is crushing. The depositions will be fun, particularly because they'll be sworn in. Narcissists don't exactly have a reputation for telling the truth, so this is where the inconsistencies will surface. It might also provide Blake with an opportunity to utilize her lawyers to go after Baldoni. In federal court, you get an opportunity to depose witnesses, but in order to do that, you have to issue a subpoena. The subpoena would request an oral deposition, meaning oral questioning. In that subpoena, you can also seek that they produce documents at the same time. So you can ask them to produce text messages, emails, and such, which sounds like the kind of subpoena Taylor Swift got. Then, what they have to do is organize how the deposition will take place. Are they going to have it be a remote deposition with a secured meeting and recording, or will it be in person? You can do either, but it all depends on scheduling, distance, and if the parties are in different states. I've done almost all of my depositions remotely through a secured connection, with a court reporter present. Once you get into the deposition, they have 7 hours in federal court, so they could take all 7 hours to ask a lot of questions, generally a ton. Before you go into a deposition, Baldoni or Lively's sides will provide each side with the documents of evidence they may be using when they ask questions. These documents can then be used to refresh your memory. So, if they have a question about a specific contract, email, or text, they'll generally have all that available to you and provide it ahead of time so that you can review and be prepared. Being prepared going into a deposition makes it easier for you because it saves a lot of time. Cooperation in a deposition is super important, because if you don't, the other counsel can just make it hurt so bad and make you stay, and the other counsel can be really bad to you too, because when you're sitting in a deposition, it's just you, and then you're being questioned, and then you get questioned and cross-questioned, and then objections are raised, but you need to talk after the objection is raised, so there's no judge to decide on an objection, so it's as if you're at trial, but in this situation you begin with cross-examination usually, so you have the other counsel begin asking you a lot of questions, and then your lawyers can then ask questions if they need to clarify an answer that you provided or add more context. So if they did a cross-examining and they gotcha on something, your lawyer can then redirect and ask questions in an effort to tidy up the responses that you provided. And then when they object, so say they ask you something really inappropriate, which they can do by the way, like they could ask Ryan Reynolds, "Is it true that you're gay?" And then his lawyers can shout objection relevance. Ryan, who is on the stand under oath, must answer the question no matter if the question is relevant or not. He must still respond to it, so then it does go on the recorded record, and then it isn't until finally the court receives a copy of the transcript, and then they work their way past the objections that a judge will rule what gets struck off the deposition. So because of that model, this is an area where malignant narcissists can get off on making the person they're suing have to ask really embarrassing questions. And I would imagine that's what Blake's and Ryan's lawyers are going to do to Baldwin. And the Wayfair folks, they're going to try to make it and frame it like they're the most horrible humans ever. Now, I'd hope that Balan's side doesn't do that. But my guess is that they're going to be able to use prior statements that Blake has made. They can use any of her present public appearances and anything that she has said since she filed the lawsuit against her. And so statements she makes on Seth Meyers for lying about her daughter's birthday can definitely be applied to her. Is it true you lied on Seth Meyers? Now she could get away with saying, "Well, I was just joking." But if you're joking, does that indicate you're joking then or joking now? It's a method to kind of create holes in the credibility of the witness when you're under oath and you've been sworn in to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. you are under penalty of perjury. It's not so help you God, it's so help you. If you don't tell the truth, you can get jail time. If you lie about something during your deposition, that's demonstrably false. It's being made under oath. It's a materially false statement, meaning it's an actual answer to a material fact at issue, and you lie. And then it's willful, like you know that you lied about it. You can be charged with perjury, which can be up to 5 years in prison, and sanctions you can be fined. So it's very important that you are honest, and perjury in a deposition can really hurt your case because it harms your credibility. So there's no motive to lie unless you're a narcissist that can't help themselves. So in the example of Taylor Swift, she is in a duty to speak the truth. Now, some witnesses in depositions can attempt to circumvent that by indicating things I don't remember, or to the best of my knowledge, they use that a lot to try to get around if something is perjury, or I believe, because a belief can be an opinion, and so a belief could be a lie, but it's under a belief, it's a belief, right? So there's ways to lie without getting charged with perjury, but the more honest you are, the better off your case is, the worse off your case is if you lie, and if you refuse to answer any questions. That can also not be good for your case, because if you will not answer questions, it makes you appear that you are hiding something. So being open, being truthful, being compliant, not being combative, which can be extremely difficult if you've got opposing counsel. That's mean, trust me, I know. But if you can be as honest as you can and as truthful as you can, it's good, and there is no such thing as taking the fifth. Somebody asked me that on Instagram. Can I take the fifth? No, you cannot take the fifth. In a civil case, it's not criminal, so there's no Fifth Amendment hiding. Even if you've had to be asked about potential criminal activity, you must reply to it under oath. You might be able to say, I don't remember. But if you say that you don't remember, they can show you a document, a text message, a court transcript, or a contract to attempt to jog your memory. There's a million ways to get you to respond to the question, and they can rephrase it so that it's in the best interest of all, to be honest. And it makes it for a better experience for you and for the other attorney. If they're not present to answer, ask you embarrassing questions, so she's not going to be able to avoid. To avoid getting out of a now, she can resist it and tell them that she doesn't think she should be subpoenaed and she shouldn't testify, but because they say that she has material facts that are in support of their case, it's going to be difficult for her to avoid this deposition. And Blake will be deposed. Ryan will be deposed, and why this is not good for a celebrity is because celebrities have these public images that are usually falsities. They're a smokescreen, and they're a manufactured image that's created by PR and doesn't reflect the actual reality of who a person is. And so for somebody that's like Taylor, who's, a pop princess and is going for America's sweetheart, anything that doesn't align what an America's sweetheart is might be harmful to her image, such as like they discover that she smokes cigarettes, or she does illegal drugs, or she is a swinger, or, just strange things like that, or that she is part of scheming and bribery, or, threats, coercion, manipulation. She must respond to these type questions regarding what role she played in all this. And so any of that may be harmful to her. And that is the reason no one wishes to be overthrown in this case, because they don't wish to be placed on record because it would harm their public reputation, and because so much of Hollywood is founded upon smokescreens and PR superficiality. It is one thing to gawk at a celebrity, but another to believe all they have to say at face value, particularly if they have a PR agent. PR agents exist to build an image for you, and you're selling a brand, so they want to guard that brand at all costs. But depositions expose them, and that's one of the reasons why Blake's all, we need an attorney's eyes only. And we may never get to see the transcripts of these depositions. If they'll probably be considered confidential, so you and I won't be able to obtain a copy of them. And the only way that we'll ever see them is if they are marked or cited in a summary judgment or in a future document to the court, or if they end up going to trial and they actually have to testify. But to have to sit through the deposition is enough for some individuals to want to settle because they don't want to be placed on under oath. A lot of these subpoenas are strategic, I'm assuming, because they want to put pressure on them, and as much pressure as they can on them, the better. And so if you begin pressure them by subpoenaing all of their celebrity friends, it may want them to settle, but now her friends are saying, well, no, her sources are saying she's not going to settle, so then they have to question themselves. The friends do. I want to be with someone that's willing to put me through this, because she filed false complaints of sexual harassment. And what if what Taylor happens to know is that it is all a fiction she has to testify to under oath? So I think all of this is just going to amount to a tremendous amount of stress for Ryan and Blake and get them seriously thinking about what they are actually going to do. And I don't know, at some point when they're going to fold. I know they will. I feel that Blake's team is going to fold before Justin and Wayfair, because Justin and Wayfair have so much more to lose by settling Blake, and Ryan have a lot less to lose by settling because they haven't been accused of sexual harassment. So much of this is done strategically in order to facilitate settlement. Although Brian Freeman states that they don't want to settle, and they're claiming they don't want to settle, it can quite possibly fall into settlement, simply to be clear. So what's your opinion about all of it? The lies, the deception, the depositions, the smoke and mirrors. Do you think that they're going to get nitty-gritty? Is there anything in there that's going to be extremely harmful? Do you think Taylor's told someone something that Blake doesn't want to get out? Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed, and hit the bell so you never miss a video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye, guys.